Welcome to The Growing Pair, our weekly podcast where we discuss and share all things life coaching, self development, and personal growth. Please welcome your hosts, Isaac Goldfarb and James Edge. James, hello, hi.
Bonjour.
Friday. It's that time of the week where we are recording. So, James, as you know, this is your turn this week to bring the topic. Hit me.
I was kind of reflecting on kind of the recent weeks and what we've been bringing. And I think for me, I kind of want to bring more personal stories to this of you and me, because a lot of what we speak about, I find really interesting. A lot is kind of based on our experience, but a bit theoretical as well. So today I want to bring the topic of what are our fears, day to day. What are we scared of? And I was going to bring my own fears, because I wrote a short article this week on Substack, and it was around the fear I've had for probably quite a bit of my life around caring a lot about what people might think of me, being judged by others, people thinking, me thinking that I look silly in front of others, or maybe people think I'm not good enough to do something. And that kind of always maybe stopped me from doing things I wanted to do.
Is that
Really,
still a relevant fear?
it still pops into my mind, but because of my awareness now to catch me in those moments and know where it's coming from, and just being aware of it means I can kind of break through that noise, so it doesn't block me. It still comes up now and again, but it's not a blocker. That's how I've managed to unblock myself.
So you said to me, okay, when it does and I am identifying in it, I can
Mhm.
handle it. Does it happen where it comes and you don't notice it straight away?
No, because my body changes. The feeling inside me changes when it's thoughts like that, or kind of self-doubt and those kind of emotions. It's different, that feeling, to when I'm feeling 100% myself, present, things like that. So I can catch myself feeling that, because it is a different kind of feeling, and then I'll go, okay, why have I had a sudden change in feeling? And then I'll go to my thoughts and be like, oh, okay, because you're thinking a lot about, if I do that, people may think that. And then I'm able to shine a light on it. And that's when it goes. I mean, the minute you kind of gain awareness to something, that's when it starts to lose its power.
Another thing I'm intrigued by is what you're
Mm-hmm.
describing is a physical feeling that now you're more aware of. And when that physical feeling happens, then you're saying, oh, something is not right within me. Let's check in. And then you're
Mm-hmm.
checking in and then
Mm-hmm.
you're resolving it in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Can you take us back in time where you felt, oh, that is when it happened, and since then I'm kind of religiously aware of it?
No, it's been a gradual journey.
Mm.
So I'm not really sure when it happened. It's just basically one day I started to just catch it myself, awareness, and then just continue doing that, practicing. And the more you kind of practice, let's say your awareness, the better you get at it. And I guess one advice I'd say is, let's say I get that feeling, but I'm also really stressed and I'm like, I don't have the capacity to unpack this now. I'm just going to carry on. Don't do that. Like, take the time to, relax, take a breath and unpack it. Because, like I said, the more you practice that process, the better you'll get at it, and the quicker you'll be able to kind of resolve those negative beliefs or beliefs that aren't real in your head, so that they're not an obstacle for you. So that's kind of what I would suggest, instead of letting them grow and just say, oh, I don't have time to deal with that. I'm just going to carry on thinking like that.
I will echo what you said in a way where when you find yourself physically something is wrong in that sense, and and you're kind of pushing it away and said, I don't have time for it now,
Yeah.
I can't deal with it at the moment, look at it as you are missing an opportunity to grow.
Mm.
So it happened to me this morning, I have to say. It happened to
Mm-hmm.
me this morning where both of my kids had to go to school late because it was
Mm-hmm.
open day yesterday. So the whole routine of the day was a bit different, right? So they were supposed, there is a time when they wake up and there's a time they leave and the time when I'm sitting down in front of the computer. And my routine today was a bit off because of them, because they were not ready. And then they started with messing around and kids, teenagers, right? And I felt my physical feeling inside me was like something is not right with me. Something is not right with me. I'll be honest, I tried, not necessarily succeeded, but I tried to breathe and I tried to get inside internal check-in and see what is really wrong. And then we had our little chat where we can share that, and I guess I wasn't in the right mindset. And suddenly something that comes to you that if you were in the right mindset, you will look at it in a different when you're not in the right mindset.
Yeah, 100%.
What I'm trying to say with this old long speech is when you identify that something is going on with you, recognize it is not necessarily enough,
Yeah,
but it's a step.
yeah.
It's a step to be aware that now I can talk about it almost from a very calm place and say, oh, this is what I was going through, James. Understand the set of reaction and the set of emotions I was having. In a way, that's how I recover myself and also recover what we've gone through this morning.
And sometimes I go, like, let's say I made a decision or I did something maybe last week, I might look at it now and be like, oh, I probably wouldn't have done that now in this state, but I can understand why I did that back then because I was in a different state and I probably thought that. So it's quite interesting as well to notice your different shifts as well, and some of the different things you do on a weekly basis.
It's important also to recognize the judge inside you, the internal judge inside you, and not giving it any power whatsoever. So it's very, very easy to judge yourself and say, oh, I should have done that, or why didn't in all of that. So when you recognize that the judge is speaking, ask him politely, enough. This is not the time, this is not the place.
What is a personal fear of yours that has been or still is?
Still is, and I guess it's my biggest fear. And my biggest fear is to be dependent on someone, physically, mentally, whatever you name it. Since very young age, I was a very independent person. Very. Like, I'm very young. I'm talking about 8 years, 9 years old. Family circumstances forced me to be who I am and what I am. And for me, being dependent on someone is a weakness. And that's another thing to dwell in and to discover and to talk. And, many years of therapy didn't get rid of that feeling, because sometimes it's good to be dependent because it's kind of a trust and it's kind of love and it's kind of all of that. But the word dependent for me, as opposite to independent,
Yeah.
is coming with a lot of heavy emotions. When I'm thinking about it, all I can see is how my dad was dependent physically because of his health. My biggest fear is to get to a place where I'm dependent on others.
And have you felt that you've been getting near to that stage of being dependent on others?
With building the business in the recent year, it's financially it's tough. It's tough. I'm not gonna lie. From earning salary every month, you kind of chasing your earning every month, and that brought me a lot of fears of being dependent on my other half income. And that's playing my head. That absolutely playing my head. And but at the same time, he brings that support to me, where saying he believes in me, he believes in what I'm doing, I believe in what I'm doing, I believe in the value I'm giving to others with it, and I would like to believe this is a temporary. So the way
Yeah.
I'm looking at it at the moment is, because it's not nice feeling, that dependency, I'm looking at it as an opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
And I'm being very, very vulnerable saying that.
Yeah.
For me, at the moment, the way I'm seeing where I am, or the way I look at my life at the moment, I'm in a period where I'm being tested in a way, not by God or something like that. It's not like that. It's like I'm more in my internal system is testing me, my resilience. And maybe it teaches me that it's okay sometimes to be dependent in order for that later goal of yours.
So what you described there sounds, more like financial dependency on your partner. What does emotional dependency look like to you?
It can be many things. I love my partner. In a way, I'm dependent on that love.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that if tomorrow is gone, for
Mm-hmm.
example, for whatever reason, it will be very, very tough for me
Mm-hmm.
to carry on.
Mm-hmm.
The love to our kids, for example, is emotionally dependent. Bad things can happen to our kids. Bad things can happen to our parents, our family, our friends. That's emotionally dependent, whether we like it or not. But some people confusing that love to dependency in a sense where you can't be your own self without that thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a long answer to a short question, but the emotional dependency is there for us on a daily basis, and
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
sure we are aware of it. What's your thoughts?
For me, it's a scale, right? Like you said, by default, you're going to have some sort of emotional strong attachment to your friends, your family, all that kind of stuff. Then there's a scale of how much you let it impact who you are and what you do and what you believe. So that's kind of where I think you're in control of being able to decide how much that scale moves towards dependent or not. But there is always going to be that connection. Yeah.
I think my fear is more around being physical dependent. Now that you ask me about emotional dependency, I think the physical dependency is playing in my head more. If I need physically to be dependent on someone else to take me from one place to another, or stuff like that, that no one wants to think, right? And again, seeing my dad when I was younger, but also in his last year, how he was 95% disabled. Like there
Mm,
was no person, there was a person that's sitting there in the chair, and if he talked to you, he shouted at you.
mm,
For me, I'm seeing that as a, oh my God, I never, never want to be in
yeah.
that place.
Yeah, I can see that. Well,
Heavy.
thank you for sharing that. I thought, this is kind of what I wanted to try out with this episode is a different kind of vibe to it by us kind of being vulnerable, really vulnerable.
What did you learn from this?
To be honest, it hasn't been any more different for me being vulnerable on this podcast versus us talking about, moving forward to a goal or whatever. So I think that's good. I think in recent weeks I've definitely been more trying to be even more vulnerable. Yeah, I've enjoyed it. How did you feel?
I needed that, I guess.
Yeah.
Especially today, you know how you have some days again when things not happen as you expect them, but not only that, you kind of build up like you're boiling,
Mm,
you're boiling inside you, and then things are happening, and then you don't see them clearly, and then
mm,
allowed me to reflect in a way. So thank you so much for bringing this topic and
awesome.
allowing me that space. And I hope you listeners enjoyed this episode. It was a bit of a different one, I have to say.
Yeah.
Let us know, email, whatever platform you're choosing, if you want to
Mm,
share with us your biggest fears. Sometimes sharing your biggest fears. Maybe it's scary to name it or talk about it, but it also helps you in a
mm.
way to deal with that. So we are inviting you to share it with us. Of course, like, comment, subscribe, do whatever it takes to help us grow the growing pair.
That your point there was exactly the point I was going to make in my biggest thing I'm taking away. Well, I find that when I'm vulnerable, there's something that happens where it diffuses everything in your body, in your head, and it puts you in a different state. Let's say if you were worked up or you're doing something or your mind's completely just fixated on something and there's a lot of overwhelm. Being really vulnerable with someone, like in this podcast or your friend or someone, I feel diffuses the situation. You can actually get into a different state, a more calmer state by being vulnerable. So my takeaway is going to be maybe if I am in that feeling, stressed or overwhelmed, trying to be vulnerable and seeing how that helps to diffuse me and get in a better state of mind. So I'm going to try that out. How about you?
It's interesting that you said that you can control on being vulnerable or not. And I feel that being vulnerable is out of your control. What isn't in control is understanding you're being vulnerable. What I'm taking away from this is how therapeutical it can be just to talk about anything, right? Just, whatever comes to your mind, whatever is bothering you, find the right space. Not everyone can be your right space. That's another thing to understand. But find the right space to share whatever going on with you. And sharing whatever going on with you usually helps reducing that stress you're feeling at that specific moment.
Well said.
And until next time, see you guys very, very soon.
Adios.